Rahubat family. Okay, so in today's PowerPoint, I'm going to be addressing part one of the present tense verb forms. And in this part, I'm only going to be dealing with the singular pronoun verb conjugation forms. And for those who have not been, um, pretty much on my YouTube channel viewing the different PowerPoints. What I've been doing is putting out a series of PowerPoints on the Nuwapic language, specifically the Nuwabia dialect of Nuwapic, which is the combination of all of the dialects from Nubic to Nuwapic, all of those books before the actual Sabian dialect came along. We of the Imperial Order as Nuwabians seek to preserve all of the dialects, and therefore we speak it in a certain kind of way. Just a heads up, if you guys have never, again, visited my YouTube channel, Non-Nation Media, I need you to hit that like button and subscribe. And you'll find that, as time progresses, I'll be putting out more and more and more PowerPoints to be able to enlighten you all as to the tones, the alchemy, and the grammatical structure of Nuwapic. So this is the present tense verb forms. It must be understood that in the present tense form, this specific tense literally means that as you are speaking, you are actually doing the act. It is also the most changing form in the Nuwabic language. This happens because every time you use a different pronoun, the rule is you must place the proper letter either in the front of the verb or in the front and also at the end of the verb. You must place the A at the end of the verb to show that the pronoun that you are using is a plural form pronoun. In this particular verb tense, there are 4 singular pronoun forms and 3 plural pronoun forms. So in this PowerPoint family, I'm only going to deal with the singular forms so that you can get a grasp of how to actually change the 3-part verbs, the regular 3-part verbs, into a present tense. In Nuwabic, anytime you conjugate, meaning bring the pronoun and verb together um, as like one word, it is called pronoun verb conjugation. This literally means that by adding the necessary letters around the base form of the present tense verb, those letters mean the same thing as the prefix pronoun. Therefore, you do not have to use the prefix pronouns, being the added letters means the same things as the prefix pronouns that you use to create the form. So what I mean by that, and you'll see it later on in the PowerPoint presentation, is when you actually add the necessary letters that represent the pronoun, the prefix pronouns that you want to use, that form alone means whatever you're trying to say with the pronoun added. And there are going to be examples of this. So what we mean by prefix pronouns are the regular pronouns that we use before something like, for example, Anna, which is I or I am, Inta, which is you or you are to a male, Inti, which is you or you are to a female, Hua, which is he or he is, Hiya, which is she or she is, Nahnu, which is we or we are, Hum, which is they or they are, and Intim, which means you all or you all are, or y'all. So these are the pronouns that we use inside of the Nuwabia dialect of Nuwabi. And they always come before the word. That's why we call them prefix pronouns. There is a set of what's called suffix pronouns, and there are 2 different groups of suffix pronouns. One suffix pronoun only goes at the end of verbs, which means that the verb is written and then you combine it as if it's one word with the suffix pronouns, and that will give you a meaning of some sort. And I'll do a later PowerPoint about that. And then you have suffix pronouns that are only meant to conjugate with nouns, right? So you have suffix pronouns that conjugate at the end of the verbs, and that's a verb pronoun conjugation using the pronoun suffixes. And then there are pronoun suffixes that only goes with nouns to show possession of a thing. And I'll do a PowerPoint also about that. So here are examples of base present tense forms. Let's examine the vowels and the rules of their placement. In the present tense, the rule is you take a three-part verb and add the vowels A, E, U, and this forms the base form of the present tense. Note, the base form of the present tense is the first form of conjugation and means I'm or it's doing the act. So what this means is this: when you first take a three-part verb and you place the vowels A, E, U in their proper arrangement, that is the first form of the present tense. So we call it in Nuwabic the base form. This is where the verb actually starts in the present tense. And that form naturally means I'm doing the act or it's doing the act. Now, if you interpret it as I'm doing the act, all you have to do is just say the word without the pronoun. And it literally means I'm doing whatever the verb you're using is, right? And if you want it to mean it's doing the act, you have to add the word huzi before it, H-U-Z-I, huzi. That means it's as in I-T-S, not it's as in hazi, which is I-T apostrophe S, which is a contraction of it is, it's as in a thing. So the three-part verb present tense form, the vowels are A, E, U, and we pronounce this A, E, U. A, E, U. Now notice the three-part verb below, right? I have one in black and one in red. The one in black is the three-part verb when there's no vowels, right? So in Nuwabic, we pronounce those three letters Z, he, B. Z, he, B, right? Now below, I have it underlined, the vowels, because I'm trying to actually pinpoint and get you to register in your mind when you have a regular three-part verb, and a regular three-part verb is literally just three consonants, not a two-part verb or a four-part verb, which would be considered irregular verbs. And there are two-part verbs and three-part verbs in the Nuwabic language, but we usually start with the actual regular form verbs so that you kind of get a gist of how to arrange the vowels to imply the tense that you would like to use. Also, I want to add that the present tense form and the future tense form are the exact same, meaning the word that I'm about to give you, which is for go or going, at the bottom in red, you use that for the future tense also. The only difference is you would use the word sofa. And I'll make a different PowerPoint about that, but I just wanted to state that, family. So now look at the word in red with the vowels A, E, U included. And that's pronounced Az, He, Bu. Az, He, Bu. Az, He, Bu. Az, He, Bu. And that word literally means I'm going. Now, if you notice in this slide, I didn't add the prefix pronoun ana. You can very well say ana as hibu, but because the base form of the verb when it first gets conjugated already means ana or I'm, you don't have to actually say it with the word. I can literally say as hibu ila hasug. I'm going to the store. As hibu ila ha bazar. Asibo ila ha bazar. I'm going to the mall. Asibo ila ha souk. I'm going to the store. Asibo ila beiti. I'm going to my house. Asibo ila bitha. I'm going to her house. Look at the previous example. I gave you the three-part verb for go without the vowels. Then I gave you an example of the verb with the a, e, u vowels in their proper place. This is the base present tense form of all Nawabic verbs. When a Nawabic verb looks like this, it automatically means I'm or it's doing the act of the word used. Look at how the verb is used in the next example. Okay, look at the above example, and this PowerPoint is actually referring back to the three-part verb with the vowels and the three-part verb without the vowels. I gave you the three-part verb for go without the vowels. Then I gave you an example of the verb with the A-E-U vowels in their proper place. This is the base present tense form of all Nawabic verbs. When a Nawabic verb looks like this, it automatically means I'm or it's doing the act of the word used. Look at how the verb is used in the next example. Letters you must remember that are added to the base present tense form that represents the pronouns that you refer to when using the present tense. So in this particular slide, family, what I'm pretty much trying to convey is the letters that you need to memorize that adds on to that actual base form that represents the different pronouns that you want to use besides I'm or it, such as inta, inti, huwa, hiya, nahnu, hum, and intum. Only difference is nahnu, which means we or we are, hum, which means they or they are, and intum, which means you all are or y'all are. It's not included in this slide because I'm only dealing with the singular form. So let's look at the first one. In red, you'll see a T, and this is the letter that must be added to the base form in order to mean you're doing the act. So the T goes in front of the base form or the base present tense form, right? Because you have these letters go between, in front of the form. And when you have a plural, you'll see you add a letter at the beginning of the form and an A at the end of the form that represents plurality of the pronouns. So again, T would be added to the base form in the front, combined as one word, and this would mean you're going or you are going, right? If you're using the word go or whatever the verb is, it represents your. Now notice that inside of the prefix pronouns, we have two words for you. We say inta if we're talking to a male, and we say inti if you're talking to a female. But when you add the T to the front of the base form of the verb, it's not masculine or feminine. It just literally means you are or you're, right? So let's go to the next letter that you see in red, which is Y. Y represent he's or he is, right? So you add the Y in front of any base present tense form, and this lets you know that you're talking about he, or using the pronoun he or he is. The next letter you'll see in red is H, and the H goes in front of the base present tense form, and this lets you know that the speaker is talking about she or she is doing that specific act. So we have T for you are or your, Y for he is or he's, and H, which is she is or she's doing whatever act. So these letters only go in the front, family. And by putting these letters in the front of the base form, you're automatically forming a word that represents the prefix pronoun of inta, inti, huwa, and hiya. So let's look at examples and use the above letters and how they form their pronoun verb conjugation. So again, I put the letters in red, but I put a plus sign to show that you have to add it to the base form. In this particular slide, I'm using the present tense form of the verb zahub, which is go, and it changes into azhibu when you put the A-E-U vowels in the proper place. Now, I want to point this one thing out before I continue. Look at the arrangement of the vowels and the consonants. Now, point to the A. That is a vowel. Now, point to the Z. That is a consonant. Now, point to the H. that is a consonant. Point to the E, that is a vowel. Point to the B, that is a consonant, and point to the U, that is a vowel. So the arrangement with regular form present tense verbs or regular form verbs, which is just three hard consonants, it's no two-part or three-part. That's what we mean by regular form. You'll see three individual consonants. The arrangement is this: vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel. Say it again and point to the letters as you say it. A, vowel. Z, consonant. H, consonant. E, vowel. B, consonant. U, vowel. Vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel. And it's syllable wise, it's three syllables: az, he, bu. It's not azibu. You have to pronounce the H. There are no silent letters in the Wabic. Every letter must be pronounced. So going back to the T, T plus azhibu equals tazhibu. Tazhibu. And this means you're going. Tazhibu ila hasub. You're going to the store. Tazhibu ila habit. You're going to the house. Tazhibu bi beiti. You're going by my house. Tazhibu ila habazar. You're going to the mall. In the next example, you'll see the letter Y in red, right? With a plus sign and then the base form of the present tense verb, which is azhibu. So you'll add the Y as one letter, as one word, and then you'll pronounce it yazhibu, yazhibu, yazhibu. And this means he's going. Yazhibu karha, he's going with her. Yazhibu karnahnu, he's going with us. Yazhibu karhum, he's going with them. Let's look at the next and the last example of the singular pronoun verb conjugations. Remember, family, there are 4 singular forms: I'm, your, he's, and she's. And there are 3 plural forms: we're, they're, and you all are. So the last form of the singular forms puts an H in front of the base present tense form verb. And when you add the H and make it all one word, it is pronounced hazhibu, hazhibu, hazhibu. And this means she's going. Hazhibu karni, she's going with me. Hazhibu karha, she's going with her. Hazhibu ilaha makludi dakun, she's going to the grocery store. Hazhibu ilaha makludi dakun, or hazhibu ilaha makludi sug. Sug means store, and so does dakun. We use them both. So, it's up to you guys which word that you choose. But we use sug and we use dakun for store. So using the above with their prefix pronoun equivalent, the 4 singular pronoun verb conjugations, in this slide, I'm going to show you what I previously showed you, but in 2 different ways. I'm going to show you how you use it or can use it with the prefix pronouns, which I have outlined in red. And I'm going to show you how I just used it in comparison, which is on the right, without it. Again, once when you conjugate the forms with the different letters, it automatically represents the prefix pronoun, so you don't actually have to say them. But if you still are developing your Nwapic mind and you still have an English mind and need all of the words in order to be able to mentally picture what you're saying, then it's okay if you still use the prefix pronouns. So the first prefix pronoun is ana, which is I or I am. So you can say before the word going, ana azhibu, ana azhibu, ana azhibu. And this means I'm going. But if you look to the right, in the middle, I got or, and then I have the word without the prefix pronoun on the right, and it's just azhibu. And that literally means the same as ana azhibu because, again, family, in our language, when we actually use these letters to conjugate with the actual base form of the present tense verb, it automatically means the prefix pronoun. So you could just say azhibu ila hasuk, I'm going to the store, or you can say ana, or excuse me, ana azhibu ila hasuk. Same thing. So the next pronoun or prefix pronoun is enter. And this is you to a male, right? So you could say enter tazhibu, you're going. Or like over here on the right, you could just say tazhibu, and it still means you're going because once when you added that T to it, it automatically combined with the A to form TA, which is also a pronoun form representing you, just like the end of enter, the TA. You'll see when it combines, it forms the TA in the verb. So tazhibu means you're going. Or if it's more comfortable for you to say enter tazhibu, that's fine as well. Now, the next singular pronoun form is inti. Inti. And inti means you to a female, or you are, right? So you can say inti tazhibu. Inti tazhibu. And this means you're going, but you're talking to a female. Now, the thing with this is, although there are two different word forms or prefix pronoun word forms for you, and it's gender specific, one to a male and one to a female, when you convert the verb to the present tense form, combining it with the T that represents you are doing, it's not gender specific. So tazhibu means you're going to a male or a female. If you wanted to just specify that you were talking to a female, just for the sake of the conversation, you can always just say inta or inti. Again, if it's easier for you to use it with the prefix pronouns, that's fine. I'm just stating that you really don't, because once when you conjugation means you brought that pronoun and the verb together to mean one thing, right? To mean you are doing it, he is doing it, she is doing it, so on and so forth. So now we have the next word form, prefix pronoun, hua, right? And hua means he or he is. So notice that you put a Y at the beginning of it, the base form of the verb, to mean he's doing the act. So I can say, or you can say, hua yazhibu, hua yazhibu, and that means he's going. But just over here on the right, I have it without the actual prefix pronoun. You could very well say yazhibu, yazhibu, yazhibu karha, he's going with her. Yazhibu hawali harakun, he's going around the corner. Yazhibu ila beithu, he's going to his house. Notice that out of all the forms, you can actually say the conjugated form with the letter that represents the pronoun you are implying, and you don't have to use the prefix pronoun. This is because the letter that was added to represent the pronoun is the exact same as the pronoun itself in the tense. So the only form that we have left is hiya. Notice that, which means she or she is, notice that you add a H, right? And when you add a H to the base form, azhibu, you get hazhibu, hazhibu. Make sure that the Z and the H in the second syllable are both pronounced hazhibu, not hazibu. That's not correct. Hazhibu, hazhibu. Here hazhibu, she's going. Now, over to the right, you'll see that you can just say hazhibu, and it still means she's going. In this slide, it's going to be more present tense verb using the AEU vowels. Note, Notice where the vowels A, E, U are placed. Family, this is important. Where you place the vowels and the proper pronunciation of the sounds of the vowels with the consonants, that sound is what tells the listener what tense you're referencing. When I hear A, I, U, I don't care if it's Antigu, Awizu, Ahtigu, Asmisu, Ajlisu. I know that whatever the speaker is conveying, it's actually happening, right? Unless they use the word sofa, which means will or would, and then I know that they're implying that it will happen. So in this lesson, I will only use regular form verbs and not irregular verbs. And again, just to give you guys an understanding of a regular form verb is 3 individual consonants before the vowels actually gets placed to show you the past, present, future, past perfect, past participle, or past tense, period. All right, so it's just the regular 3 letters that one would use for the base of the word before they start adding vowels and changing the tenses. And each time you change the vowels, the sound changes, and that sound is what represents the tense that you're actually implying. So in this particular one, I didn't do the 3-part verb without the vowels. I actually did it with the vowels because what I want you guys to start doing is developing a Nuwapic mind. And when you develop a Nuwapic mind, you'll be able to look at a base form word or verb and take out the vowels and tell me what the actual 3-part verb is. So let's do that for a moment. If I looked at number 1 and I see Antegu, right? I would notice that NTG is the 3-part verb. Why? Because the vowels A, E, U have to be added to the 3-part verb, the regular form verb, in order to make it in the present. So when you omit or take out the vowels, you break the word all the way down to its actual base form, right? You have several base forms. You got a present tense base form, which is number 1. And then you have the base form of the verb. That's the word or verb without the vowels in it, and it implies the regular word, natu, which means to say. So let's see how this is pronounced. An-ti-gu. An-ti-gu. Antigu. Now notice, anytime you start a Nuwapic verb off with the letter A, that is not a vowel, that's an actual consonant when it starts it off. And it's always pronounced ah, as in opposite. An, ti, gu, antigu. I'm saying or I'm pronouncing. Antiguzi, I'm saying it. Antiguzi ila enta. I'm saying it to you, speaking to a male in this case. Antigushi ana awuzalianatu. I'm saying what I want to say. The next verb. Notice the T is in front of the regular form. And if you ever get confused, all you have to do is write the regular form of a verb in the present tense, like number 1, that's the actual base form, the regular, not regular, but base form. And then you'll know what letters was added that actually represents the pronoun that you are referencing. So in this case, it's tan, ti, gu. Tan, ti, gu. Tantigu. Tantigu. Now we have something in the Nuwapic called afe. Afe. And afe is a word that represents the rhythm that you're supposed to say a word in. Even though I'm breaking it down syllable by syllable, an, ti, gu, that's not the rhythm that the word is pronounced with. The afe, the proper afe would be antigu. The proper afe for number 2 would be tantigu. Number 3, yan, ti, gu. Yan, ti, gu. Yantigu. The proper afe, yantigu. Yantigu. Shinu yantigu ilani. What is he saying to me? Shinu yantigu ilaha. What is he saying to her? Okay, so the last one in this particular slide is dealing with the verb pronoun conjugation of she. Han ti gu. Han ti gu. The proper afe would be hantigu. 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 Hantigu zifi nwabia. She's saying it in Nuwabic. Okay, I have two more words in the four different forms on this particular slide. So the first one is ajlisu. 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 And this means I'm sitting. The second word would be taj li su. Taj li su. Tajlisu. Tajlisu. Tajlisu biha. You're sitting by her. Tajlisu bini. You're sitting by me. Tajlisu jaha tarabus. You're sitting at the table. Tajlisu fiha sayor. You're sitting in the car. The next word. Yaj li su. Yaj li su. Yajlisu. Yajlisu. He's sitting. Yajlisu alaha farush. He's sitting on the bed. Yajlisu fiha shagumet. He's sitting in the apartment. The next word, or the next form of sitting would be she's sitting. Haj li su. Haj li su. Hajlisu. Hajlisu. Hajlisu fiha wara'a. She's sitting in the back. Hajlisu fiha wara'a shilha sayor. She's sitting in the back of the car. Hajlisu kharuj. She's sitting outside. So notice, these four are the singular forms: I'm, your, he's, and she's doing the particular act of sitting. These are singular. There's only four singular forms, and there are three plural forms. Again, I'll do a plural form in another PowerPoint. So let's go to the next verb. And notice every time you see the first verb form of I'm, that's called the base form of the present tense. The base, that means if you was to look at that word without the vowels, you'll have K, L, N, which in Wapik is pronounced ki, li, ni, the KLN, ki, li, ni. And without the vowels, it's just the actual base form of the word. When you add the a, I, u inside of the ki, li, ni, that forms the base form of the present tense happening right now. When you're saying aklinu or ajlisu or azhibu, is happening right now. So aklinu would mean I'm being. I'm being. Then the next form of the word, it would be taklinu. 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 This means you're being. Taklinu batal, you're being bad. Taklinu fak, you're being fake. Taklinu danu, you're being mean. Taklinu latuf, you're being kind. The next form is yak clean nu. Yak clean nu. Yaklinu. Yaklinu. Yaklinu mashyub. He's being serious. The next form and the last of the singular pronoun form of the verb conjugation is hot, clean, nu. Hot, clean, nu. Hot, cleanu. Hot, cleanu. She's being. Okay. Now we got two more word forms on this slide, and I want you guys to actually focus when you're studying this particular PowerPoint on how to remove the vowels and just bring it back to the basic three-part verb. So the first form of the word that we see for studying is adrisu, and that's the base present tense form. That's the first way it's going to look when you first take DRS or DRC, and which is the pronunciation of the letters. Letter D is pronounced D, letter R is pronounced RI, the letter S is pronounced C, DRC. And this is the first form you're going to see when you take those three letters and place the A, E, U vowels in their proper place. And it's adrisu, ad-dri-su, ad-dri-su. And remember, family, all R's are rolled in the Nuwabic. It's not adrisu, never adrisu. It's adrisu, 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 ad-dri-su. I'm studying. Adrisu Nuwabic. Adrisu Nuwabu. I'm studying Nuwabic, or I'm studying Nuwabu. Adrisu had talam. I'm studying the doctrine. The next form. Tad-dri-su. Tad-dri-su. Tadrisu. You're studying. Shino tadrisu. What are you studying? We know tadrisu ja. Where are you studying at? Kaifa tadrisu. How are you studying? The next word form. Yad-dri-su. 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 Yadrisu. Yadrisu. He's studying. The last of the forms, the last of the four singular pronoun verb conjugated forms would be had-dri-su. Had-dri-su. Hadrisu. She's studying. Okay, let's go to the next word form. Anfinu. And the three-part verb would be in, ni, fi, ni, is how you pronounce it in Wapik. The letter N is ni, the letter F is fi, and the letter N is ni. So this would be pronounced an, fi, nu. An, fi, nu. Anfinu. Anfinu. Anfinu zi kuli. I'm giving it my all. Anfinu zi ilaha. I'm giving it to her. Anfinu nasufi ila okhra lihumat. I'm giving myself to other people. Next word, or next word form. Tan, fi, nu. Tan, fi, nu. Tanfinu. You're giving. The next verb form is yan, fi, nu. Yan, fi, nu. Yanfinu. Yanfinu. Yanfinu ni bayochet. He's giving me problems. Okay, so the last form of this particular word in the singular pronoun verb conjugations is han, fi, nu. Han, fi, nu. Hanfinu. Hanfinu. Notice that all of the words actually sound the same, except for the letter that indicates the pronoun. Adrisu, tadrisu, yadrisu, hadrisu. So when I hear ta, I, u, I know you're saying you're doing something. If I hear ya, I, u, these are the sounds, I know he's doing something. If I hear ha, I, u, I know she's doing something. Whether it's an finu, tan finu, yan finu, han finu.